deliver the news to your door. Breaking news, top headlines, the big story, the latest update, and all you need to know are only available on the African Actions Network, 2A Radio and TV. The only independent and balanced online news network. Broadcasting from America to the world. We inform,
Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and get the show started. My name is Borby Broplay, and I'm one of the hosts here on this edition of the Business and Economic Forum on 2A Radio. I'd like to welcome our special guests to the show today, as well as our trusty panelists. Let's go ahead and get started. First, we'll allow the guests, the special guest, Dr. Kula, to go ahead and introduce herself and then say a few words, and then we'll go around to the others.
Okay. Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Kula, and so I'm here today to talk a little bit about tourism. Tourism, you may not see it as a business, but really it is. So the key thing is on a forum like this, you really talk up tourism, the importance of it, and how it can move our country forward. As we know, Liberia is a beautiful place, and we need to showcase that. So I am very interested in history, culture, and tourism, and pushing that forward, as well as education in Liberia. So those are my four major things. Of course, you guys know I'm into filming and everything. So I'll talk a little bit about filmmaking and how filmmaking can take Liberia to the world. So those are the things I'm engaged in at the moment, and I will be sharing throughout the course this evening. Now, if you guys don't mind, before we go any further, could we take a moment of silence? I think you guys heard over the weekend a young fellow was brutally shot for no apparent reason, just by being at the wrong place at the wrong time. So if you don't mind, can we take a moment of silence for him?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We actually did a moment of silence on the Friday show as well, but not for the gentleman, but it was April 14, and
Yes.
do you know the history of April 14 in Liberia? So we had to do a moment of silence as well. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Gentlemen, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'll let you guys go first. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, my name is Jackson George. I am a businessman in Minnesota. I am the president of the Liberian Business Association in the diaspora. And I've known Dr. Clarice to be someone who get things done.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, and my name is Willie Dillon. I'm a financial crimes specialist. I'm passionate about all things Liberia, passionate about the tourism industry in our country. And I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I would say I'm a regular panelist on this show. So I'm just glad to be here today to, learn from the other panelists, as well as contribute my 2 cents towards, the whole idea and concept of what we're discussing today.
Perfect. Well, nice to meet you all. Dr. Kula, is that how you say your name? Nice to meet you. My name is Gabriel Carter. I work in commercial banking as a portfolio manager, where we do investment with private equity, venture capital, and sovereign wealth funds. I've been in banking for about 8 years. And my passion is access to capital and access to market and everything that has to do at the intersection of business, finance, and economics. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show today. Let's go ahead and get started, Dr. Kula. Today the Business and Economic Forum, just by way of information, is a think tank, and our goal is to highlight everything business and economic in Liberia. How can we develop Liberia? How can we contribute? Not just the ideas, but actually doing. Okay, so that's the basis for this show today, and it's carried live on Two-Way Radio, and we're grateful to our sponsors for that. What is the deal with Liberia? I mean, a tropical country, beautiful coastline, natural resources, beautiful ecotourism potential. What's the deal?
Look, Liberia is just like gorgeous. Okay. So for those maybe who have not been there in a while, because I know back in the 70s and 80s, many of us that were there, to us, it was almost like Liberia was Monrovia. So many people have not been on the outskirts of Monrovia. When you go on the outskirts, that's when you see true beauty. So not saying Monrovia is not beautiful, it is, but when you get out there. So like I took a trip up to Patawi. If you go up to Patawi Waterfall, you see something totally different. If you take a trip up to the Blue Lake, oh my God, the Blue Lake, that's another story. Yeah, it's beautiful. Nimba Mountains, we've camped out in Nimba Mountains. It was just magnificent. Ate breakfast on the mountain, camp. I mean, I'm not an outdoorsy person, but we slept on top of the mountain. It was the most amazing experience. Quiet, nature, everything was just awesome. In the nature trail, you can see 2 different countries I think 3 countries from the top of that mountain: Sierra Leone, and Ivory Coast, and I think Guinea. There were 3 different countries we could actually see standing on top of that mountain. You go to, of course, places like Libasa and Margibi County. That's another just wonderful place. You go to Elizabeth Village down in Bassa, which is owned by Hester Baker. That's another wonderful place. And one of the places that really gets everybody's attention when you think about Liberia and you think about all Liberia has to offer, you look at what is that area that it has the best surfing waters? Jackson.
Robertsport.
Oh my gosh, Robertsport. As a matter of fact, those of you who may not know, I saw a flyer today. Mrs. May Ewer, they're getting ready to do an event up at Robertsport. I think it's a surfing exhibition, more of a surfing competition type thing. People come from South Africa. We've met people from Europe, different places up there, and they come just for the surfing water. Now, you tell me that is not God. God just blessed that country with so many beautiful things. And to see that we have all of that and all the natural resources, all the rubber, all the this, all of that, we're not really tapping into it. That's a little bit unnerving because honestly, for all that Liberia has, we should be further ahead than where we are today because we have something to offer the world. That's just where I want to start this conversation.
Okay, well, let me help to plug that event. It's the Robertsport Liberian National Surfing Competition. It's happening May 12th to the 14th of 2023, and it's going to be in Grand Cape Mount County. So if you can make it out there, that'll be a perfect event to go and see. I'm sure it's going to draw visitors from outside Liberia, like you said. That is one of the best surfing grounds in the world, I think. Hey, so speaking of this event, how do we get people outside of Liberia into Robertsport for this to happen? Do we have accommodation for them? What's the process in even getting to Liberia? And then let's talk about, local tourism for Liberians to get interested in their country, like you said.
Mm-hmm. And that's key. You've got to get Liberians interested because they're the ones that's going to push it. Yes, we're going to get outsiders, but you got to get your own people on board so that they know how to treat the tourists when they come in. Because like when they come to the airport, that's the first time you meet Liberians is when you touch ground, you're at the airport. Are they going to be nice to you? How are they going to speak to you? You know what I'm saying? All of those things are important. Getting our people ready on ground to receive tourists. Like when we did the Year of the Diaspora, they had done Hester Baker and Mrs. Ewer, they had done a series of things to get Liberians ready in some of the hotels at the airport so that they would know how to greet the guests. We need to keep that momentum going because it's very, very important that we're able to get our people on board for this, that they're able to make people want to come back to Liberia. Because first impressions is everything. You got to make sure first impression is everything. So now getting to Liberia, the main thing is you got to get a visa if you're not Liberian. Those of us who are Liberians, something new has happened, you can use your Liberian passport to get there and use your U.S. passport to come back into the country. However, if you need a visa, you need to go ahead and apply for one. It does take a little while nowadays, so please make sure you apply for one in a timely manner. Go there, you land in Monrovia, you can get a ticket. Brussels Airlines still goes there. Delta through Ghana, and then Ghana to let's see, on KLM, not KLM, Kenya Airways, sorry.
Kenya Airways,
And
KQ.
then some of the other local flights, Kenya Airways will take you there. So you get your flight, you go into Monrovia, then you have to bear in mind, Cape Mount is a little far, so you have to drive. I think it's like a 3-hour drive, 2.5, 3-hour drive to Cape Mount. And then you get there. I know there's a guy, Mr. Shannon, Musa Shannon. He has a place there right on the beach.
Nana's Lodge.
Yeah, it's Nana's Lodge is there. And then I know there's some new developments coming. Oh my gosh, you should see the things that we saw recently that are being put on that ground. But it's going to be magnificent. So look out for a lot of updates there. So that to answer your question, there is lodging. You get yourself a place to stay, and then you participate in the activities. The surfing is amazing. We took surfing classes because I take a group all the time. And in December, when I took my other group, we had some African Americans with us and some Liberians. The young people in Robertsport, sorry about that. The young people in Robertsport, they do surfing lessons. Believe it or not, these kids are amazing surfers. To see them on the water, I was like, what is going on? And then you pay a small fee and they give you lessons. So many of my guests got to learn how to surf. It was amazing. And the young people were doing, these kids were like teenagers. So some were teenagers, some were young adults, but they were teaching us how to surf. It was wonderful. I love kids. I love young people. So it was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. So
it brings back memories. Growing up, some of my fondest memories were in Grand Cape Mount County. We used to go to a hotel, when we did well in school. Our treat was we would go to a hotel called Hotel Victoria.
Oh, yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah, that was a very beautiful resort, and for kids that was amazing. I mean, you got 4 potential people here that could be going down to Liberia for that competition. But let me bring in Mr. Dillon for a second, because we want to understand, this tourism thing, kind of the economics of it. And I know you have a lot of insight into such things. Can you throw some light on that, Mr. Dillon?
Well, the way I look at it, one thing I like to focus on when it comes to the tourism industry is that I like to compare it a lot to what we see in the Caribbean, because the climate is the same, but those countries have been able to exploit that sector of the economy to really bring in a lot of foreign capital that supports their government. So a lot of times in Liberia, when we think about the economy, we think iron ore, we think gold, we think rubber.
Rubber.
Rubber. But a lot of times we leave that out, But that could be a major means through which we could bring in foreign capital into the country that could lead to development as well. I think just like you stated, that we have this, enormous and beautiful coastline. And when you go to these other places, you see that all along the coast, you have major change. You have all these different resorts. And people come from all over the world because they have actually branded that part of the world as being a hot spot for vacation. And I'm thinking the entire West African coast is just beautiful, So, but you don't see any countries along the coast that are even, taking advantage of that and trying to push it to the next level. But I think,
well, I don't know about that, because I saw a couple of videos on Gambia, and,
Ghana.
Yeah, and Ghana. Well, Ghana, we need to take a look at Ghana a little closely, because I don't know if they're marketing their coastline compared to Senegal and Gambia. You
Yeah, we
know,
did watch a video on that not too long ago on the same forum where they had a whole like video on people talking about what Gambia has to offer in the coastline. The tourism
okay.
industry was something that was major with that, but that's something that we are not pushing. We're not pushing enough. I think that's something that we need to focus on, and I think that could be something that can contribute in a major way towards development as well.
All right, thank you so much for that. And then, Mr. Carter, I know we've been on a few of these forums where the topic of tourism has come up. We're here for solutions. Okay, how can we make tourism better and easier? What would it take to have you travel to Liberia to attend this surfing competition? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. That is a great question. And I don't want to veer too much off of what we're talking about, so I would just tag on to what Dilla and Dr. Kova said. So the opportunity are there, right? So if you go to Sierra Leone, right on their strip, there's I forgot what that strip is called, where they have the Mama Rocco Hotel. That entire strip is just a series of hotels and beach resorts, right? So if we're going to leverage what is in the what is a Rebel Sport, right? First, we have to have the the transportation. The road that goes there. I haven't traveled there, so I don't know the road. That has to be paved. So that's something the government might want to prioritize. You don't want to be going there on a dusty road and you know sitting in a car, you're bumping into pothole. So that's one thing we have to we have to take care of. Second of all, we have to
You brought back
build.
memories there.
Right. We have to build the economies around that area. So when I mean economies around that area, like I talk about, I think you guys mentioned several hotels around there.
Okay.
That would be a good place. If you people have land, that would be a good place to now start building hotels and guest houses. So that means during the surfing event, you can take as many people to lodge in those places without having to drive back and forth to Monrovia, so they can just come directly and go there and spend the entire weekend there or entire week there for the entire time of the surfing event. And again, the moment you start building those things, there will be restaurants that will come along. People will start building houses. Like you can build a whole ecosystem around that. So that's, I think, for me, I think that's the big, and we can, as I said, we can learn from other countries what other countries are doing. You go to Sierra Leone, you'll see the same thing. You go to Abidjan, you will see the same thing. Everywhere there is a sea coast, they've built hotels that overlook the water. The simple example, just 2 hours, 3 hour drive to Sierra Leone and see what they're doing. There you come back, you can do the same thing right to Rebel Sport. So for
Mm,
us, I think I would say there's one thing, and I'll end. For us, as I said, it's always the person wanting to take the bold initiative to invest in it, to say, hey, I see this
yeah.
place as a good investment. How can I get a hotel here? How can I partner with somebody to get a hotel here? And you know, banks can look at that too and take advantage of that and see how they can fund people to build hotels down there. So
Yeah.
I'll leave it
Now,
on
And I
that for
know
now.
I
Thank
know
you.
just the person that can make something like that happen. In fact, this gentleman travels to Liberia more than any one of us. Every
mhm.
3 months he's there.
Yep.
And Mr. Mr.
Yep.
George, um,
Yes.
this is serious stuff here. I mean, you're head of the Liberian Business Association Diaspora. How can you get investment into Liberia especially for that tourism sector?
Hmm. Well, thank you. To be honest with you, I was in Ghana, and the beach. I mean, I went on the beach, and they were open 24 hours, 7 days a week. It was amazing. I got there and went there 1 o'clock in the morning. But let's talk about bringing in investment into tourism. I think one of our callers the other time talked about our waterways, but we are a little far away from our waterways right now. Um, but I'm sitting down here listening to many of you. We got the Patawi, we got Edina, we got Rubber Sport, we got
Mhm.
we got all of these beautiful sceneries, and why are we not developing them? Um, so I'm
Mm.
sitting down thinking, okay, let's take for instance one of the reasons we are talking about, like we talked about on Friday. It takes a longer time for us to get to Liberia. If you
Yeah.
travel from the United States, you're talking about 2 days, right? So
Mhm,
if you
mhm,
took a week, you got 2 days to go to Liberia and 2 days to come
mhm.
back. That's 4 days of traveling. So that
Mm,
takes away your time, right? So that's one of the things that we need to first look at. The second thing I'm thinking on, if we talk about security, why don't we have tourism security, right? Some countries, like I was saying, Mexico, there's a script. They have their own security, totally different from that of the government security, that of Malaysia. They had their own tourism security, and they protected tourists, so we felt safe while we were there. You know, so those are some of the things that would give people, the reason to want to go home or the reason to invest into tourism, if they feel that people will go and to those places. But right now, if you look at a ticket from Minneapolis to Liberia, you're talking about between 15 to 28 hundred
Mhm.
dollars,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
right?
oh
Yeah.
wow.
And I can
Well,
fly from here to Mexico for $300-400, or
Exactly.
Bahamas for almost
yeah,
the same. You know, so
wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
so the price is one of the things. So when investors are looking at, can I invest in there, how many people are going to come in there, and it's a tough sell. But again, I like to look at it from the point where Liberians, this is our country, why
Mhm,
don't we come together, pull our resources, and begin
mhm,
the investment, and then others will see and jump on board. So the question I got to ask Dr. Kula is, if we're to build this tourism sector that will drive people from around the world, what are some of the things I just mentioned? Security, but what are some of the things that we as Liberians need to do from the diaspora to help this industry?
Well, I'm with you 100%. So, one of the things that I am encouraging people to do really is to invest. Come to Liberia, first of all, see what's there. There is no way you, as a Liberian, is going to come to Liberia, see what's happening on ground, and not find something that you can invest in. Because, again, with all of the long flights and all these other things, like you just rightly named, for a foreigner to come in, it takes a little bit more than for somebody like myself who is a Liberian and somebody like you guys who are Liberians. So the first thing is we need to go see what's on ground, see what investments we can make. Right. Of course, I'm with you with the security. Security is key. We've got to make sure that we're safe. We're safe. I go all the time. I've never had any problems whatsoever. But that's not to say other people have not. So you want to be very mindful of that.
Well,
But I
well,
think
Dr. Kula,
yes.
sorry to interrupt, but speaking of security,
Mm-hmm.
this brings up a topic that was mentioned in the Friday show, that the issue of enclave tourism,
Mm-hmm.
where, for instance, Mr. George mentioned Mexico. If you go to Cancun,
Mm-hmm.
Cancun has been carved out as an enclave
Yep.
where you can control security
Mm-hmm.
and you can control transportation. You can also control zoning.
Yep.
So only hotels and resorts are allowed to build there, I believe.
Right.
And
In
if you
certain
look at
areas.
even a country like Jamaica, that arguably is just as dangerous and maybe even more than Liberia,
Yes.
they are very good at creating enclaves for tourism.
Mhm.
Could we
Yep.
do something like that in Liberia?
Oh, for sure. And let me tell you, I have found a place, Jackson, Georgia. I have found a place on the highway, right? You don't have to be in town. Even if you don't go to the outskirts of Monrovia, you don't have to be in town. I have put my bed and breakfast, and I sent you the link. I don't know if you want to show it, but I have put my bed and breakfast in an area called Doma Town. Doma
Oh,
Town is about 15 minutes from the airport, right? So it's
okay.
not that far. And that's what tourists love. Nobody wants to get to a country that you don't know anything about and you have to drive another hour and a half to 2 hours to where you're going to sleep. So a lot of times people like to be in the area. I am pushing that entire highway, which is the highway coming from the airport. That area is underdeveloped. If many of us in the diaspora can go back set up shop there. The sky's the limit. I kid you not. We need banks. There are no banks. Every time I need money, I have to go to the city. We need a grocery store. I'm looking for investors who want to invest with me. We can all go in and put our own.
Where exactly is it, Domatown?
On the highway.
On the highway. So let's say you came into Robertsport Airport, and when you're leaving, when you're coming to town,
Yeah.
right? About 15 minutes, you pass a place called Smell No Taste, something like that.
Yes.
And right after you pass that area, it comes Domatown is like one of the next towns over. But there's not much in the area. Yeah, there's not much there. But think about it. Many diasporas now who are going back and building, they're actually building on the highway. Boys Town, which is where Marshall is, at the Marshall Junction.
Yeah.
All of those. My place is only like 10 minutes from Boys Town. You see what I'm saying? So already there are places there that people have started building. If we took that area and said, okay, this is our diaspora area, and we're going to put here things that we want to see, things that we're used to seeing because we've been living somewhere else, we maybe begin to create such an environment for ourselves, if you know what I mean. I have what I call a little pool koozie. So it's like a pool, but the water it's like a jacuzzi, but the water is cold, like a pool. So I put that there. I call it a pool koozie. Barbie, you need to show the video so they can see what I'm talking about. But in my video, I don't just show my place. I show surrounding areas that people can go so that you know in this area, you are 15 minutes away from the airport. You're 10 or 15 minutes away from beautiful beaches. You've got Libasa. You've got, what's the other beach? John Wissett Beach. You've got several places in the area that you can go to swim and have fun. You know, you've got that hotel is not too far from us either. You can go there and have a nice dinner. Many things are in the area. So don't think nothing's happening. There's a lot happening.
Can you also host the bar to me?
Huh? Can
you also host the bar to me?
Send it to you?
No, the bar. The bar.
He said outsource the bar to him.
Okay. Well, hey, that's a thought. We can do that. We can do that. But again, there's just so much to do on the highway that we have not tapped into. And what I noticed is that a lot of beautiful homes are going up. People are creating hotels. There's at least 2 or 3 hotels in the immediate area because there's one called Royal something Royal that just opened there too, and is gorgeous. They also have a pool. They have everything. And of course, you've got Farmington by the airport. So you got a lot of stuff in the area. It's just us coming together and saying, we're going to make this an enclave. This is what we're going to do here. Dr. Kula has a bed and breakfast. These other 2 people have 2 or 3 hotels. Libasa is right up the road. John Wissett is right up the road. And then when you're on that road, many people don't know. If you continue straight on that road, it takes you to, it's like a fisherman's town. You can get on a boat in that fisherman's town to go over to see the chimpanzee, onto Chimpanzee Island. People don't know about that. It's gorgeous.
All right, Dr. Kola, you're talking to Basa man now. We scared of water now, so.
Okay. Well,
we know what we're doing water, so we scared of. We Basa people don't play around water, so.
Oh my God, Jackson, you're too funny.
But Doctor, do you think separating having a minister of tourism would definitely help our country?
Don't get me started on that. I've been preaching that for years. That is exactly what we need. Tourism needs to be separated. Okay, anywhere you go nowadays, tourism is basically separated because that's an entity all by itself. That's a whole area that has not been tapped into. If it were by itself, we would be able to do a little bit more with it. You get what I'm saying? We make our rules. We say this is what it is. These are the areas that we're going to go to. We do our trainings where we're training people how to be hospitable in the hotels, how to be hospitable when you're at the airport. Tourism needs to have its own umbrella. And I know for a fact that many countries that have tourism by itself can tap into other grants outside of the country. But you can't do that when tourism is attached to another entity. Tourism has to be by itself. There are many, many grants that you will apply for or that you can apply for that will ask that tourism is separate. So I'm just saying, again, I'm 100% a believer that is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
yeah.
I think also,
go ahead, Ms. Dillon.
Yeah, I do think also, I like Dr. Kula's approach and view towards it, that it has to be a bottom-up type thing where it's a grassroots movement. I think also us here who are in the diaspora have to start also looking at it from a more macro perspective as well, to say, okay, you know what? How can we get a Marriott in Liberia? How can we get a a Hilton in Liberia, and those things do not have to be situated in Monrovia, in a congested city, but they could be situated in places where they could show the coastline and it could be a part of, that attraction for different parts of the country. But I think all of that does somehow tie into what Gabriel was saying about how there are things that, we a lot of times we try not to say government, but there are things that government has to do to enable such things to happen, like the regular and frequent, flow of electricity in the country and water in the country. Because if we don't have that, if someone comes and put $3 million, $5 million, $10 million down for a hotel in Grand Bassa,
Yep.
and we have no electricity, you have to
I was
look at the
getting there.
cost that they'll have to
Mhm.
run a generator to
Woo!
run that entire thing. Whereas they can go right next door to the Ivory Coast and they don't have that cost.
Exactly. And that was the next place I was going. You gotta have electricity. Like right now at my bed, at my mom's, we run a bed and breakfast, and let me tell you, it's not easy. So the generator takes up all our money. So even if you have somebody that pays $100 a night or $125 a night, by the time you run the generator for that night, you've already spent like 60 bucks, because it's gonna run all day and all night, right? To keep it, and then you always have to have a second generator, because if something happens to the first one, you're screwed.
Backup. Yeah.
Then the other thing is, we've got this new thing now that they call solar energy, but we're on the highway, and where we are, it rains a lot. So my mother's always worried, well, what if there's more darkness than light, at certain times, and I can't really charge my batteries, then what? So, it's kind of hard for you to do that. And I share with you a common thing. So I was telling you guys earlier, we're having this, last year we did this Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a celebration when some African Americans in Texas finally realized that they were free. So last year we decided we're going to celebrate that in Liberia. So we brought a lot of African Americans on a trip that it was a Juneteenth celebration, and it was called the Journey Home. I did it with a couple of my African American friends who are based on ground. They actually live there. Okay, they live in Liberia and they've been there for over 5 years. And so we got together and we did it. Part of that is we had a film festival that went along with it. So as we celebrated Juneteenth, we brought them in, we taught them the history, we took them on tours, they got to go to the museum, J.J. Roberts Monument, all that good stuff, learning about Liberia, the Blue Lake, we took them everywhere, right? So at the end of the day, it boiled down to, yes, there are some people who are maybe interested in investments. How do we invest? They're looking at, of course, the electricity situation, the traffic situation, because again, we don't have enough roads. So we need roads. We need electricity. And that was one of the biggest challenges, was the electricity. So we had to stay at a hotel that could provide around the clock electricity. Now, what if you have a place, like you were saying, in Bassa, you invested $3 million and you don't even have the electricity? How are you going to sustain it? So now this year rolls around, we're having it again. Just so you guys know, we're having a big film festival. We're using film festival to bring people in, for them to experience Liberia, to know there are opportunities on ground. You can shoot a film in Liberia for half of what it's going to cost to shoot it in America. You take your cast and your crew with you, you can shoot right there. People don't know that. People are doing it in South Africa. People are doing it in Nigeria. People are doing it in other African countries. We need to tap into that. You'd be very surprised. You can do a lot in Liberia.
I have a question though.
Yes,
With the issue of electricity and water, I mean, those are very real concerns. Obviously, nobody can really play them. But how are other people surviving and living there? I mean, what I mean is, isn't it possible to maybe I remember at one point in Liberia they had these it was like a 20-foot container.
Oh yeah.
Generator.
Yeah.
Like a huge generator that actually supplied, I would say, almost the whole of Old Road.
Oh yeah. At BWI, Mr. Cummings is running for president. He gave them a generator, and when I was at BWI the last time, I saw the generator. That thing is powering every building on the campus, and it can even power other places in the area. So you have those kinds of generators that people are in fact using.
It takes about $55,000 to run Boulevard Palace and $65,000 a month to run Royal Hotel.
Royal Hotel. That's a lot of money. And as a result, we don't understand why they're charging us so much to stay there, but that's why. Because majority of the money again goes to the generator. So that's
that explains it. So a quick backstory. 2 years ago, I had well, I have an German friend who wanted to put a factory in Liberia to make plumbing pipe, the PVC pipes they can use for plumbing.
Yeah.
And he and I were in discussion. The guy did his research. When I met with him, he said the first thing he found out was the electricity in Liberia was the most expensive on the entire continent,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I
True.
know they just reduced it to, I think, 24, what is it, per mega kilowatts or whatever. It used to be 35 when he looked at it, right? The same thing when I was in Sierra Leone. A five-star hotel, a Hilton, built by Hilton on the strip in Sierra Leone,
Mm-hmm.
was $65 a night, whereas the Royal Palace, where is right in Liberia,
Very grand.
was 100 and I think 125 hundred. So I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't fathom why a five-star hotel would be cheaper than a three-star or two-star hotel right in Liberia. But again,
That's it.
I guess that
Electricity.
goes to electricity, right?
So,
And
Yeah.
there were a lot of Liberians in Sierra Leone taking vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept talking. They say it's cheaper to come take vacation here than it is to take vacation, right? So again, it has to do with the cost of electricity.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I know I keep saying this. I don't want to beat a dead horse. This is something, in as much that we want to be ambitious, right?
Mm-hmm.
The government has to do its part. We have to get on their case to play their part.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. You can build a hotel. You can, like the Royal Palace, but like you said, all your profit will goes towards, right.
the Sakata, one of the things that Liberians got to first, and we have to be intentional about this, and I've said this many times. Why would our foreign partners, or we call them our international partners, build us a dam or build us a hydropower that will power our country and make our product add value to our product when their economies are built off of our raw materials? That is never going to happen. They will fix one turbine, and when that one gets destroyed, they will help us build another one. They will never give us 100% power. We Liberians will have to be intentional and work towards powering our country. That's the only way that's going to happen. The foreign partner would never, ever build our hydro to give us 100% power. So that's something that we have to figure out as Liberians and as leaders in our country. Now, one of the things that I always say, if tourism can build our country where we don't need to do mining and other things, how is it? Do we need rocket scientists to come down and tell us that we got the youngest population in Africa and tourism would be one of the best means to lift people from poverty to the middle class? So when it comes to these things, I don't even understand. We as Liberians, how do we even start? We're never going to produce iron in our country if we wait for the foreign partners to give us power. We're never going to produce slipper and buckets and rubbers, and tires, while we wait for Firestone and the international partners to come and give us power. That is never going to happen.
I'm
Yeah,
with
well,
you, Jackson, 100%. Yeah,
right. So
it starts with us. It starts with us, guys.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
to and this is something that I know I mentioned that earlier, that I'm a big proponent of. I agree with you. This is something we have to do personally. I don't think that our foreign partner, or whatever you call them, are responsible to bring you
No.
electricity in Liberia. Like Dr. Kula mentioned, there's the generator that powers the entire campus. You can do that. People can invest in that. Now you can build something. You can buy something like that and put it in your hotel, and it will still be able to power your hotel in addition to powering other people. Now, let's say in another community, you can charge that community, and it was kind of cut your costs in half in terms of how much you would have paid towards running the entire thing. That's half of the battle. You can use it as a backup to the current that we currently have in the country, right? So that way you don't keep it on 24/7. But the biggest challenge that we have in this country, that I know that we keep saying that we should invest, invest, invest. How many Liberians do you know have 500K sitting around?
We only 3.
And,
But
and
we don't.
this is I know we're ambitious, but you got to be realistic and honest with ourselves. How many Liberians now? there's a lot that many people that do, but that
Yeah,
most of that money is sitting into their home equity. So
correct.
imagine somebody trying to take their home equity and partner up and build something. They want to make investment. This is where the banks need to come in. And I continue to say, if our banks were capitalized like the way they need to do, we will have a lot of businesses investing in our country. A lot of people, even if you had to give your house here as a collateral to do that,
See,
we will be at that level.
Mr.
But
Carter,
that is
we have the Liberian Bankers Association. We have asked them to come and sit down with us in the diaspora so we can devise a way to do some of these things so that we can create the avenue for us to get loans and other stuff. I mean, it's not, look, it's the will.
right.
It's the will. And
Dr.
again,
All
Kula,
right, gentlemen, we got the video, and
yeah,
we
please
want to
go ahead.
play
if I
it.
may conclude,
And
that's the will. And again, if you got eight or nine of the banks are not Liberian owned banks, these guys, what? Look, if we don't develop our country, nobody would do it for us.
Nobody will. And to add to that, we don't need $500,000 to even start that. That's why I said partnerships are good because the risk is low. If I've got 50 grand or I've got 25 grand and a few of us came together and built something, hey, it's good. But we need to learn how to work with each other.
But one of the
That's
things
the
that I've
thing,
learned,
too.
and this coming together, Dr. Kula, Liberians don't know how to partner easily.
That's a
another
fact.
thing
I
that
agree
we
with
have to
you.
learn. That we have to learn. But let me tell
well,
you one thing
let
that
me let me just say, let's look at this video because obviously somebody is doing something. So partnering is definitely a good thing. But
correct.
if Dr. Kula can do something like this,
But
then
Dr.
I
Kula
think
need to, when she have built it now, then she need to open it up for investors so we can put all it 5,000
Exactly.
inside.
But let him show you the video. Jackson, watch the video.
all
You
right,
see.
Pastor Patience, go ahead and play the video, please. And then I'll introduce another guest just jumped on, Mr. Shannon. All right, while she's pulling the video up, I'll just go ahead and introduce. This is Mr. Musa Shannon. We're talking about his establishment, Nana's Lodge in Grand Cape Mount County, where the surfing competition is going to be
whatever your
happening.
needs are, on the outskirts of Monrovia, Liberia's historic capital, lies Dunn Estates Historical Bed and Breakfast. Located only 15 minutes away from RIA Airport and some of the most beautiful and breathtaking beaches, this quaint African-themed B&B honors the history, culture, and resilience of the Liberian people. Come enjoy our luxurious rooms and our very special suite, all equipped with private bathrooms, charming historically themed decor, and an authentic Liberian breakfast.
Wow.
Relax in our courtyard with its magnificent floral arrangements, outdoor kitchen and gazebo, all perfect for weddings, honeymoons, dinner parties, retreats, and so much more. Soak or swim in our gorgeous, first of its kind jacuzzi, a pool that feels like a jacuzzi with its sandy, beach-like sitting area. Also enjoy additional amenities such as Wi-Fi, 24-hour security, family games, smart TV with cable, Netflix, and other streaming platforms. Join us at Dunn Estates for the feel of an African vacation with a touch of home and history.
Wow.
Wow.
It didn't start from
wow.
the beginning, but it's good enough. We got a bit of it.
This
Yeah.
is, I will have to reach out to you off air. This is nice.
This is wild.
This is
But wait a
nice.
minute now.
I need membership though. I travel down there all the time, so give me my membership.
Okay, we'll hook you up. And there's
Don't give him,
Gentlemen, let
don't give him
me
discount. No
introduce-
discount. Please don't.
Let me introduce the new guest, and then we
Yes.
can further go. So, Mr. Shannon, this is the Business and Economic Forum. We're talking about everything business and economics in Liberia. Today's topic is tourism, like we discussed when we spoke a few days ago. And we're just trying to highlight Liberian tourism and look for ways to make it better. Okay, that's what we're doing here today. We have a special guest, Dr. Clarice Kula, and she was actually promoting
Your place.
the beach, the surfing
Thank you so
competition,
much.
right?
You're welcome. Remember, I
Yes,
stayed there one
thank you
time,
for
right?
having me.
You
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
I
yeah,
stayed there in December. Yeah, that was fun.
yeah, yeah. That's amazing, and congratulations too, guys. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure, and you know, we all have the same vision for our country. So
Yeah,
different perspectives, but we're working in the right direction.
that's right.
I know you just you must be really tired. You just had a huge event that was held in Grand Cape Mountain County. Can you tell us a little bit about it and what
Well,
transpired out there?
yeah. First and foremost, I mean, I'm full of gratitude because sometimes I don't even believe it myself, Bobby. So we celebrated 15 years of Nanas Lodge Beach
Wow.
Resort in Robertsport, Grand Cape Mount. We started in 2008, and
Wow.
we survived every possible challenge that you can imagine, from difficult roads to virgin territory to no power, no water, Ebola, Corona, sea erosion,
Wow.
competition, but you know, it's just basically perseverance, resilience, and just a belief in your country. Because you know, I've had the good fortune of traveling to a lot of places around the world doing my other careers and seeing other beaches. And I can tell you, Liberia beaches are second to none. I mean, it's world class quality.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of how do you build the infrastructure, both capacity, physical infrastructure, mental infrastructure. I heard you talking about the banking community. That's a critical component. And but just to believe in what in our country, you know, it's like we see all these amazing things, but yet we're still afraid to take risks, because high risk, high reward. That's the way it works. And for me, I'm just fortunate. I don't really have an explanation on how we made it so far. There's a bit of good fortune, a bit of luck, so many different components, but I think we crossed the dangerous time now. Now is about what's the next 15 years going to look like, and that's kind of where we are right now. That's the strategic thinking that we have to have. I heard you talking about Liberian partnerships. I mean, I've been out here on my own. Um,
Mhm.
and when I try to talk to people about partnership, they think I'm crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They think, who's going to go to Robertsport? Who's going to do this? And then when things start to move, then now there is a different conversation. But you know, this is normal.
Yeah.
This
So
Wow.
is
Mr.
normal.
Chana, thank you again. I've heard about you a lot, but we in the diaspora, you know, when you talk about investing in Liberia, sometimes people like, oh, you know, the risk. What motivates you? I mean, what can you tell us in the diaspora if we're to? I mean, what got you going? What is the motivating factor that you get up every morning and do the same thing every day and make sure that you succeed? What can we do from our end? How can we be motivated to
I
come?
mean, it's twofold, my brother. It's twofold because the business is one thing, but you first have to have the attitude. You know, like if you don't believe in Liberia and you wanna come and I always tell people, Liberia gives you what you give it. If you give Liberia 100%, it will return 100% to you in a due time. A lot of people in the diaspora, the perception from the local people on the ground, the business world, is you want to give less and take more. So in Liberia, the whole saying of nobody's stupid is true. Everybody in Liberia understands the diaspora game. You come, you put 5,000, you want to take 1 million. So eventually, there's no trust. And this is the issue between the diaspora and the local community. In my case, in my footballing past, I sacrificed to come to Liberia 20 years ago. So it's like that bridge is already crossed. Now the next bridge was about building a business and building the trust with my employees who are all living in Robertsport, building the trust with people in the business community. You just have to build the trust. And to build the trust, you have to be here. You have to be consistent. You have to go through the highs and the lows. People have to believe you're not going to run away and go somewhere. And then you cross that bridge. Fortunately for me, I was young enough when I started. 15 years ago, I was 31, almost 33 years old. Now I'm 47. So it's like I had the time to build these relationships, you know. So it's difficult from the diaspora. What you have going for you is hopefully you can raise capital. And if you have capital, and some experience, and with the right relationships, you have a chance to be successful. But ultimately, Liberia gives you what you give it. So if you want to have your family, your whole life in America and do business in Liberia, it's tricky. It's very tricky because there's no real way to enforce anything, or there's no, if something happens to your business, pretty much there's no real protection. And this is the problem if you're not here. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I've noticed since I've been here. Somebody steal your money in Liberia, what are you going to do? Go to the police? You know?
I know, but what I like about it, though.
Oh my
That's
God.
why it's key what Mr. Shannon said about building trust. Because I'm not even gonna lie, the weekend we went up there, you were in town, remember? And we
Yeah.
went, but your employees acted as though you were there. So whenever I called for anything I needed, they would come running to give it to me. And in other places you go, you don't have that. You know, because they feel like the boss is not here, I'm gonna do what I want to do. But your employees actually tried. We said, oh, we need towels, they went running. We need this, whatever we needed, they made sure we have. Even when I told them the time we wanted to eat, by the time we came outside the room, the food was already on the table. So
all right, I think we're getting some feedback, guys. So if you're not talking, please go ahead and mute. All right, go ahead.
That's very much key. You got to have that trust factor, because I was actually surprised when I realized you weren't going to be there. I was like, how is this going to go? But when we got there, everything was fine. One of my guys, one of the American guys, wanted to take a walk on the beach. One of your guys offered to escort him. You know, he said, "Oh, you shouldn't go by yourself. We'll go with you." Yada yada yada. And then I like the partnership you guys have with the younger guys in the area. They come over right to your Nana's lodge and they do their little surfing lessons there, or the boat is right up the street. So it was like we could get everything we needed at that one place without the owner being there. And then your guys were able to connect us with the people we needed to do all of the extracurricular activities that, we wanted to do. So that was really good. I thought that was a plus. Yeah.
How long does it take from Monrovia to Ravasport?
Recent, when she visited, the roads were a little bit not in the best condition, but since then they've been graded and the bumpy highway has been fixed. So it's taking now, some guests, depending on the time of the day, anywhere from 1 hour 45 minutes to 2 hour 30 minutes. So it's a substantial, but don't be too happy because the rain coming. So after the rain season, let's see what condition Let's see what condition the road will be in. But the government has an intent to pave the road. I think they want to do 15 kilometers, which is around probably 10, 11 miles. And they want to do it in segments. The distance, the dirt road is about 27 miles, 42 kilometers. So it's not a massive project, but it's still a project that costs money. And you're paving a road into a region where there's no major revenue coming out in terms of tax. So it's a bit of a sacrifice and a vision that they're having for tourism, and hopefully it pays off.
Yep.
Okay, good. As we wrap up here, let's talk about the government's vision for tourism. What are some of the improvements that they're making right now, assisting this sector?
Well, I will be naive if I would speak on behalf of the government, but what I can say is there's been an explosion of different types of businesses that are flirting or actively involved in the tourism sector. Recently Patawi, Nimba, there's a project going on in the Nimba, a mountain range around the mining area. The Lebanese group from Libasa has opened up multiple locations. So people now, it wasn't like that 15 years ago. People thought this is not going to work. Now people are venturing more, but from the private sector into the tourism sector. As far as the strategy for government, it's difficult for them. They have so many priorities, but I'm not aware of a blueprint or a master plan for tourism. I think the private sector is going to drive this, and it's going to have to be a lot of outside the box, innovative thinking. One good thing is the border road from from Freetown to the border of Liberia has been paved. And from my side, I've been getting some traffic from the Sierra Leone side. So foreigners are visiting Sierra Leone and then piggybacking that onto Liberia, because the road it takes you 6 hours from Monrovia to Freetown now. So I think that there's a combination. It can go both ways. Our road was already paved. It just needs to be maintained. So there's some hope there, and we do get foreign tourists that are touring West Africa. So it's happening for us, but is it part of a master plan? No, I'm not aware of that. So it's hard to say. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're saying that
Wow.
the road from
Go ahead.
Cape Mount to Sierra Leone is paved?
Yeah, the road from the
Yes.
border. Yeah, the entire road from Monrovia to Freetown is paved. It's just in the Monrovia side, especially closer to Monrovia, it needs a little bit of work around Peroville, Hotel Africa area. But once you get into Bommy, the road from there all the way to the border is pretty good.
Yeah, because
So
I was there
and
in
then
2000. I was there in 2000, I think 22 last year. I drove from Kawa straight to Sierra Leone, and the only thing that the delay we had was in the Cape Mount and the bombing area. Those roads are
yeah,
just so crazy.
that
Yeah,
road was horrendous about around
yeah, it
that
was.
time. But they've
Yeah.
completely repaired that road.
All right.
So,
The Liberia side is being completely repaired.
That's
So,
good.
Tashana, in a
That's
quick
nice.
study, if
Okay.
somebody were coming to Nana Lodge, what do they expect? What is I mean, is it fixed? I mean, what is the rate? Uh, you know,
Amenities and stuff.
amenities. What are the things that we look forward to if we were to come to Nana Lodge?
So thank you very much. So we have 11 operational individual chalets, and we've just recently constructed one. Those to make it 9 chalets with bathroom and showers inside that are pretty high standard for this type of region. We 5 of them have ACs inside with 2 double beds. So they're very, very comfortable. And most of our clientele are VIP clientele, ambassadors, business owners, people who would expect a certain level of comfort. Those rooms are going for $200 a night for 2 persons, but they include all the meals. So you would get included in there breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the business strategy behind that is that there's no supermarkets in Robertsport. So supplies of goods and services is very tricky. So we don't want to run a buffet or a menu system, and then we're not able to provide all the items on the menu because we don't have enough items in stock. So we do basically a general buffet. We catch a lot of seafood, and most of the food, the seafood is less than 24 hours. It will be in your stomach. Around the business, we have an amazing beach that people mostly come to relax, but it's one of the few beaches in Liberia that you can swim safely on because of the way the beach is structured. During the dry season, it's very calm, and it's almost like a swimming pool. It's also very shallow. I know a lot of people are concerned about safety, and that's one of our attractions. Our beach also is very clean and very underpopulated. Mainly you're dealing with the fishermen, the local people, and the guests, and there's a good balance between the business and the locals because all my staff are local, so most of their family members are the one that are coming to the beach. We do a hiking tour to an abandoned ship. There was a shipwreck that crashed onto shore about 6-7 years ago. It's a very popular attraction, but we don't charge money for that. We will have our guides assist you because there's an element of danger to that. But we also have a city tour that we recently started. Robertsport is a very historic city with about 4 or 5 major historic sites that people can see, and they find it very fascinating. And then also there's the local canoe ride that people can take. But one of the things that I love there, which is basically totally free, is when the fishermen go fishing. Most people in their life have never seen people throw a net and pull a net into shore to catch fish. It's quite a fascinating experience, actually. And they have been doing this for more than 200, 300 years. So every fishing village along the West African coast probably had a fishing net at some point. So the guests were able to convince the fishing people that they should allow the guests to join into the process, and they do. So occasionally you will see guests pulling the fishing net, and then later on buying the fish from the fishermen too. And of course, our most popular attraction these days is the surf. I mean, everybody is coming to Robertsport because of the world-class surfing. It attracts a lot of attention. It brings a lot of notoriety, a lot of international press. Last year, we had France 24, we had CNN, we had Reuters, we had New York Times, a lot of people covering the surf. The surf, I don't take any credit for the surf because I was just very lucky to be in that location where the surf is right next to me. So but what we do is try to encourage the young guys We try to promote them. We try to give prize money during competition, but at the same time, during the year, we allow them to use our facilities to rent their boards and to try to give surf lessons to some of our guests. So these are the major things. Down in the town, about 5-minute drive, is Lake Piso, which is a whole nother adventure. A lot of people come there to go fishing because it's more calm to fish in Lake Piso than to fish on the ocean. And that's what makes Robertsport special, because in terms of tourism, it's vertically integrated. You have the forest, you have the waves, you have the beach, you have the lake, and then you have the ocean. So there's a lot of different, and then you have the history of the town, which is the foundation of the history of Liberia. So it's really a special, magical place. And when people ask me, I just say Robertsport is magic, because sometimes I can't even explain all of the potential that it has.
Yeah.
Well
Wow,
said.
that's
Well
amazing.
said. Well said.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that
Anyway.
place. I love it.
Mr. Shana, could you send out some information, the business association here, so we can share that? I'm sure most people in the diaspora don't even know that Nana Lodge exists. I've seen it on YouTube. I've taken my time to go on YouTube to look for businesses in Liberia. But if you send us it, we can put it into our newsletter. We can put it into
I'll do that. I will send it to Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I can get it sent out. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this show has been extraordinary. Always learn a lot from great business people, Dr. Kula, Mr. Shannon. So we're gonna wrap it up here, just for the sake of time. And in the future, we'll definitely have you guys back to do a more comprehensive show. So once again, this is the Business and Economic Forum. This is carried live on 2A Radio. And in studio today, we have a guest from the Providence Foundation, Providence Preservation Foundation, the CEO, Dr. Clarice Kula, and also CEO of Nana's Lodge, Mr. Musa Shannon, calling in from Liberia. Thank you for being here today, and we'll go ahead and get some closing words from both of you, and then we'll call it a night. Ladies first, so we'll start with Dr. Kula.
Okay. Well, again, thank you guys for having me on the show. Before I go, I just want to announce again, if anybody's interested in going, spending Juneteenth, if you will, that's around June 18th in Liberia, we will be taking a group. Mostly African Americans are on the trip, but Liberians are also welcome, of course. It's the Journey Home Festival, and it's also the Journey Home Film Festival. So part of that is we go to Liberia in June, from June about the 16th through the 22nd, and we'll be celebrating that historical time that happened. We'll be taking tours of Providence Baptist Church. We're actually going to come back up to Robertsport again, so we'll be calling you to arrange when we're ready to come up there. And so we encourage anybody in the diaspora who is interested in going and participating. The film festival itself will be on June the 16th, and we'll have an awards show on June the 17th, where we're going to just honor the young people for all of the work that they're doing with the filmmaking, because filmmaking also sells Liberia to the world. We get to see the beauty of Liberia in our films that we showcase here. So we encourage everybody, if you want to come on this trip, celebrate Juneteenth in Liberia, and also participate in the film festival, as well as Liberia's very first film, what do you call it, awards. It's called the LFA, which is Liberian Film Award. So do feel free, let me know. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. All right, Mr. Shannon.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on the show. I know we've been speaking about it. Like I said, I'm full of gratitude. I think we're in the right track in terms of tourism for Liberia. I think people are starting to understand the significance of the industry. The country is amazing. It's beautiful, and we're only utilizing probably 5% of our potential as it relates to tourism. I like some of the conversation you talked about Liberian collaborations, and talking about how can we find a better working relationship with the financial institutions. Nana's Lodge has been financed completely out of revenue that has been generated and the capital that we started with. So it's very difficult, but these are some of the things that will help to accelerate growth in the Liberian tourism sector. And like I always tell everybody, there's enough for everybody. People think everything is running out. Nothing is running out. There's enough beach in this country for everybody. So we hope that you guys will find the right partnerships and come to Liberia, invest in your country. And I look forward to Juneteenth. I should be here, so hopefully I get a chance to come and to celebrate with you guys the film festival.
Awesome. We'll love it.
All right, absolutely. All right, so we'll just hear briefly from Gabriel and Willie and Jackson, our panelists and hosts here, and then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. No, thank you guys for joining us today. I think you guys have shed, lights on the tourism industry. I will admit I was clueless about some of the resorts they have in that country. When I go, I just go to the village and come in town. That's all I used to do. But now when I go back, at least I have places to explore. So great work. I hope you guys keep doing the work that you're doing. And some of us do have, ambition to invest, but so we will be reaching out to you personally to, pick your brains in terms of how you've gone about doing those things and pick after you as well. So thank you, and we look forward to having you guys back on the platform. Don't let it be your last time. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel. And all right, Mr. Dillon.
All right. Yeah. So I just want to thank both of you guys for just the information, and actually, you guys got me excited just seeing what has been done, and talking about what more can be done. So it was very educational, very inspiring, and would like to maintain contact with you guys just so that when we do head back, we'll be able to connect and see what else can be done. Thank you.
So let me join the rest of the people to say thank you to Dr. Kula and Musa Shana. One of the things that I like about this is people who are doing stuff. We are not looking for expert advice. We are looking for people who are doing it and giving us the information that we need. So, at this forum, we try to talk business as much as possible, and that's what we do. But I'm happy that you were able to come. Hopefully, we can get more time for you guys to come. But one of the things that I think we all need to do is to be able to share information. So Musa and Dr. Kula, please give us your information. We try to share it with our network as much as we can so that people can get it and be able to use your facilities when they are in Liberia. I will be coming to Liberia soon, someday, and I hope I will come to Rawalsport to enjoy myself there. But Dr. Kula, I think I will stop right by the airport and see what you have.
Awesome.
And by the way, they have shared a lot of stuff with me. I'll get those flyers. And Mr. Shannon shared a beautiful promotional video as well. I was trying to see if I could get it pulled up, but it didn't have a link. So I'll share it with you guys so that you can have it and appreciate. I love the part about the dolphins. There's a scene where you had about 6 or 7 dolphins.
You share the video, then you're telling us about the scene in it. What's wrong with you?
Share it.
It makes me excited.
But Barbie, before we go, that ship that Musa talked about, anybody that's going up there, you need to go see that ship. My African-American guy went up there, and that's all they talked about. The pictures that they brought back, because I was too afraid to go up, but the pictures they brought back of that ship, oh my, and the history behind it.
Y'all keep talking about water Abasa, man. Y'all got to put a rope around my waist, and that rope got to be on land for me to go on that water.
Oh my goodness. No, y'all need to go see that ship, Jackson. You'll be all right.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we have this is carried live on 2A Radio. They're sponsoring this show. Thank you very much, 2A Radio. My name is Borby Brokla, and I'm one of the hosts for the Business of Economic Forum show. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Good night.
Ciao, everybody.
Good night.